Hey guys, what's up? It's Paul Salazar and
Kyle Emakuchi.
we are going to be talking about a very important topic for those that are going to be voting next week or when this video comes out in the next few days.
Voted.
Yeah, or already have voted.
Yeah.
How each candidate will basically affect real estate in at a federal level, right? Yeah. So there's 4 talking points for each candidate. 4 for Harris, 4 for Trump. We're going to go over each point. We are not advocating for either candidate.
On this video, we're not.
Not in
we're
this
just
video.
Trying to express facts. That's
Exactly.
all we want to talk about, and real estate. When it comes to candidates, obviously it's a hot button with a lot of other social issues. We're keeping this strictly real estate and neutral on both sides.
All right, so let's start with Harris.
Harris. So the first thing, she has a few. Obviously, we're going to go over 4. But the first-time home buying tax credit.
Yep.
So what she's incentivizing is first-time home buyers are going to be able to get a credit up to $25,000, which would hopefully spur more movement in the first-time home buyers and more incentives for them to come after and buy their first piece of property, which would then turn into more generational wealth and get basically their foot in the door with that $25,000 extra.
This kind of reminds me of what they do here in California. If you buy like an electric vehicle, you get like a $7,500 tax or some kind of credit, right? That comes off the purchase price of the vehicle. So this is kind of similar, something similar to that.
Yeah.
Where you're incentivizing people that don't have a lot of money to put down to a house, and I think that's the biggest barrier of entry is the down payment. They can probably afford the monthly payments, but they can't afford the down payment. So I think this is great, but it comes at a cost, obviously.
Of course.
Where's this money coming from?
Yeah.
From taxpayers, right?
I mean, we're already X amount of dollars in debt, and then we're going to add
just a little bit,
$25,000 per first-time home buyer. It just seems a little excessive. And it also seems like the cons of it is $25,000 is going to come out of somewhere, like we talked about. But also, what's going to happen with that $25,000? It's going to change the market. It's going to change the plateau of where a free market is. So it's already going to, we don't know, but stimulating the demand. That's one part of it. But on top of that, $25,000 is going to, I'm not sure what will happen.
So what you're trying to say is that it'll create more demand. So prices will get inflated, and so the cost of living of buying a house will now be more expensive over time with this credit.
Yes.
For sure. I mean that's normal, right? Like that's how it works.
Yep.
Right? If you give people money to go buy things will get more expensive, just like during COVID.
Yeah.
When they were giving out money, right, to a lot of businesses.
Inflation went right up to 10%.
Exactly.
And
right.
it
Yeah.
showed really quick.
for first-time home buyers, if you're a first-time home buyer, this is good. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless the $25,000 makes that first-time home buyer that you wanted to buy, the house was X and now it's Y because it's that much more expensive. So is that going to help you in the long run or not? You have an extra $25,000, but guess what? That house is now $40,000 more expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that's really going to affect it, but that's the cons of this aspect.
Of course. Of course.
Pros is obviously affordability and boost. But anyways, we'll talk about the next one.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Rent control and tenant protections. I'm trying not to, add my 2 cents to this because I'm a landlord. I'm also a tenant, right? So when they're talking about federal rent control, that scares me.
Yeah. So
let's talk about it. She's trying to impose some type of federal control over rent control and tenant protections.
So instead of it being state by state, being some are landlord friendly, some are tenant friendly, they want the whole nation to be landlord or tenant friendly.
Yeah.
Not a great move in my opinion, especially.
We're trying so hard.
I mean, but you have things down to the state for a reason. Some people want it just like the same thing they did. not going to take it into other issues, but we see what's working in states and we see what's not working in states, and hopefully we can learn from other states. But also hopefully we can look around and learn from other nations, because I mean, when they took the rent control off of Argentina, it was just a boom happened, and like the best economy decision that they've ever made was the government getting out of more control on top of the your landlord and being a tenant. Obviously, there's a lot of sticking points between the two, but to add more sanctions and to make it less landlord friendly is just it's.
I mean, what's going to happen
thing.
is that people that want to invest in the United States are going to stop investing in the United States,
like myself,
in real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, right now in California, there's already a lot of rent control rules. And you're seeing a lot of investors saying, you know what, I'm going to put my money into another state. But if she gets elected and she imposes this federal rent control, there's no place that investors can go to where they can be like, hey, I'm spending money to invest in a property where I can raise rents up to market levels.
Yeah.
Right? Supply and demand will set a price for me, right?
And also, California has the lowest. Our demand is too high right now, and they're trying to break up like even single family lots. They're trying to put condos onto your ADUs so that they need more housing. So what's going to happen to my developers who are like, hey, I build 8 to 10 units, that instead of buying and holding that and buying and sell it, they're going to have to do, and no one's going to want to pick up that asset. So why would my developers even buy and even do anything about that if there's nothing on the flip end for them?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I know this is again, it's a tough one, right? Especially if you're in real estate and you're an investor. If you're a tenant and you plan never to buy a property in your entire life and not to have the American dream, which is what everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to own a piece of property.
I wouldn't say everybody, but yes, it's.
But most people do. Like that is the American dream, right? Is to own a piece of property, right? Yes. I think this is going to make it difficult. All right, let's keep going. Next one.
Okay, next one we got supply side measures. So Harris policy under the administration, they focused on housing supply through federal grants and zoning reforms. Her goal is to create more affordable housing units, obviously, like we know, which stabilize prices over time. These initiatives may take years to fully impact the market, given the complexities involved. So it's really just doing what her thoughts are to add the supply to the ever-growing demand.
I think the major issue right now is that there's little inventory. There's not enough housing for new buyers.
Yep.
So she's trying to figure out ways to change zoning, which they've already done here at a local level, but she wants to do it at a federal level. At a local level, we can build ADUs very easy on a single family. Now you can split a lot. Like if you have a house that's 10,000 square feet and you're a homeowner, you can split that lot into 2 5,000 square foot lots, now making 2 properties, right? So there's already measures that at a state level and at a county level and at a city level that they're already changing to increase housing, but she wants to do that at a federal level because there's just not enough housing right now. Okay. Next, corporate landlords.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So Harris has always criticized the amount of corporate landlords that there are. So she's proposed stronger regulations to limit their influence and reduce the ability to increase rents arbitrarily. Okay. So
she wants to have 2 different categories, 2 different buckets. The small mom and pop investor property owner, and then you got the big corporate ones, right?
Yeah.
And she wants to put more control or have more control over the corporate landlords.
Well, I mean, it seems like I can't answer that definitively how she wants to do it, but there is something that's saying, hey, corporate landlords are an issue. So she's bringing that up saying, hey, this is something that we need to deal with. Whether they're separating the two, I don't know, because I haven't seen any literature in her separating the two. And B, how would you separate the two? You know, is it over owning X amount of properties? Is it over owning 6, over 7, over 2? Because we already see the national rent control coming into play. So is that going to affect me, a single landlord, or is it going to affect both of us the same way? I'm not sure. But corporate landlords is a big issue that she has with it, and she's. I haven't seen the plan on how to deal with that.
Yeah. Overall, all of her policies that she's proposing, it's all about control.
It's more government.
It's more government.
Yeah.
Exactly. On landlords, on tenants,
Yeah.
on zoning laws, on local level laws and state level laws. But now let's talk about Trump, because that's obviously the other main candidate here in the election. And he's all about deregulation.
Yeah.
Right.
So a smaller government is what he claims that he is looking to do.
And this is normal of a Republican and Democratic kind of side, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Democrats want more government. They're more liberal, and then on the other side, it's less control, less government.
For sure. And the big thing is Harris and the Democrats want to make it more equitable for everyone. You know, they want everyone to have the ownership possibility and the affordability, and they don't want these big corporations stealing the opportunities that these people do have, or that they are slowly and surely but losing out on their opportunities to be first-time home buyers, you know. So they're trying to put something in place to give equity for everyone. It's tough because I don't know if that's the best way to go about doing that. It obviously has to be somewhere in the middle, because that's why our checks and balances kind of work out.
Right, yeah.
So as far as we're exploring how far they are, or the Democrats are, to putting more rules and regulations are, the Republicans are going to be a little bit less. Obviously, we meet in the middle for the most part, but Trump wants to lower. Well, we'll start with number one.
Yeah.
He wants us to come up with a low interest rates and deregulation. So he frequently touts that the economic success of his first term, especially with regard of historical low interest rates, encouraged the home buying. So he has indicated that his administration would work to maintain low interest rates, potentially pressuring the Federal Reserve to ease its monetary policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I like low interest rates, but you can't go that low. I mean, you see what happened during COVID, right?
Of course.
Like you just can't sustain that. And that just inflated all the prices. And now we're having that issue right now with these rates that are not bad, you know, in the mid fives, high fives, even low sixes. Overall, over the course of like the history of, you know, giving out loans for like houses, that's not bad.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't.
It's 5 to 7% is pretty standard.
Yeah.
And when 5.5 and 6, and people are saying the interest rates are too high, it's kind of like, well, yeah, 60% of Los Angeles is sitting with a sub 3.5 rate. So obviously 6 looks terribly large, but that's standard, or that is standard over the last 20 years. It's actually pretty good for over the last 20 years.
My only argument on that is that the 6% now is on a much higher loan amount, much higher loan amount.
That is true.
30, 40, 50, 60% higher than it was 20 years ago.
In the 90s,
right?
When the interest rates were 12%.
And has wages, have wages gone up to a point where that makes sense, you know?
I am not the economist per se, but know that it has not.
You're not the economist?
I'm not the economist. I am a real estate economist.
All right, sounds good. All right, so he's pushing for low interest rates and deregulation in that regard. Okay, next one.
And again, like I can have, he's probably touting all the time, of course I want low interest rates. What are you actually going to do it? And I don't know, I haven't read the whole plan of how he plans to do that, but his main point is going after low interest rates with the Federal Reserve. So I'm not saying that he wants it and it's going to happen, it's just that's what he's pushing. Reducing regulatory burdens. So Trump is likely to continue his previous efforts by deregulating the housing market, especially in areas related to environmental and zoning laws. So his belief is that cutting red tape will make it easier for developers to build new housing, and therefore increasing supply and lowering prices.
Okay.
So it's developers, like let's say anyone that wants to go west of Lincoln, going through all of those red flags. How many? Coastal Commission, any kind of everything in Los Angeles in general. Imagine that was all, or not all of it, but as much of it was taken out as possible. We'd have a lot more developers going to certain areas. You know, like how often do you talk to a developer that they don't want to go through the Mulholland corridor because of all of their...
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So obviously, again, less regulation will open up more opportunities for developers.
Yep.
And what are the pros and cons of that? I mean, like we've heard it a lot from homeowners who they hate seeing all this new development going on in their area. But but at the same time, that raises the value of their area, right?
It does, for sure. But I mean, if you go any street in Brentwood, every other house is being developed. So imagine living in a house for 20 years or if what you want it to be, your forever house. And every day you're fighting with the construction workers or hearing this. And you spent $5 million, $6 million, $7 million on a house. And all you can hear is hammers and nails and hammers and nails. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, it's not the worst problem to have, especially when it could be no work or no one's doing anything. But right now, it's the cons of taking this away would be that developers, they're fearful that developers are not going to be as environmentally friendly. So they're thinking if you were to take away the coastal commission, that's coastal commissions put in there on purpose, So it's kind of the flip side of being able to have free will to build wherever you want.
Yeah.
Where does it stop?
Yeah. Okay. All right. There are actually some parts of Houston that are like that. You can build a house next to us, or like put like a strip club next to a house. Like it's weird. So like they're just so like I'm not sure if it's all of Houston, but I've heard that a lot of Houston is like that, where like the zoning laws are just like they don't really exist, which is interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder
All
how
right,
long until you're like, well, this is interesting. McDonald's on one side of me and then Starbucks
Strip
across the street.
house in the middle. All right,
we got so housing affordability and supply. While Trump has criticized Harris, the current administration, his plans rely more on the private sector to address these issues. So instead of putting rules in, he's taking government out, is what he is. So reducing federal oversight will increase the availability of homes. So he wants to take as much of the government out of it so that the free market can work as is.
Okay. And how about the tax incentives? I think you missed that one.
I did mix that one. We'll actually go back to that right now.
I mean, this is just like he's creating tax incentives so there's more money in your pockets. Therefore, you invest more into buying real estate and possibly tax incentives if you buy real estate.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. The big one is 1031, and then they want capital gains is a big issue.
Yeah.
So when you sell a property, a 1031 exchange allows you to roll over your tax and defer it until you sell and keep the capital gains of selling that property. So 1031 exchange, if you don't go through a 1031 exchange and you sell your property and you make $5 million on it or $500,000 on it, whatever the case may be, Trump and the Republicans want your taxes on that money to be 15% versus Kamala Harris wants that to be 36%. So I'm not sure if it's 36 or 37, but it's a big difference. Obviously, there's more incentives.
That's a huge difference. Yeah.
And then the cons of that is it just affecting the wealthy? Is that money, could it go towards revitalizing other things, obviously taxes and what they're meant to do? But that's kind of the big difference between those.
I think whoever you vote for, it's like you'll be affected by these new incentives that they're trying to push out, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it just depends on what you want for yourself. Are you voting for what makes like your life better? Are you gonna make more money for yourself, or you're looking for like the betterment of the United States too? And I don't even know which is better. We won't even know until they're like put into place and see how it. But either way, you can't satisfy everybody.
No.
You can't satisfy the rich. You can't satisfy the poor. It's kind of just like a balance.
Yeah. No. That's why they're on completely opposite sides.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can meet in the middle of something. I don't know what's going to happen with all of this. I don't know how fast things are going to change. Whoever gets elected. It's just going to be interesting to see how this does affect us, and we're not going to see it right away, but we'll see it over the next couple of years, obviously.
Yeah, and it's really important to understand these. We'll drop a link down below for more information on these notes, and if you have any questions, let us know, and go out there and vote.
Go out there and vote.
Leave a comment down below.
Yeah, let us know
who you're voting for.
Yeah, and again, this is just
who are you voting for?
I don't know. This is just one of those. Obviously, it's one topic. Yeah. You could compare this to other topics and say, hey, this is not as important as that other topic. So I hope that We didn't sway anyone per se. I just wanted to let you guys know kind of.
It's just about real estate.
Yeah.
We're not talking about social issues, education. I mean, there's so many other issues. I mean, this is just a small part of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
If you guys want more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, the like button as well. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what kind of videos you guys want from us. Be happy to shoot other kinds of videos, but we're doing the best we can to educate you guys on what's happening in the real estate world, not only here in Los Angeles, but I guess throughout the United States, because this is a federal, thing going on.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.